Hey everybody, welcome back to Just Keep Parenting. Thank you for joining us this week. Oh gosh, seriously, welcome to Friday, right? If you haven't been, if you're a first time listener, currently we're reading this book, which is Easy to Love, Difficult to Discipline, the 7 Basic Skills for Turning Conflict into Cooperation. And we're getting close to the end of the book, folks. So one of the things that I want to talk about today is, we've been talking about positive intent. We've been talking about noticing rather than judging and how to do those things so that we can help kids develop this sense of responsibility. And one of the things that I think is hard as adults is we tend to talk to children like we talk to adults sometimes, which confuses them, right? The other thing that I think is hard just on human nature is we tend to attribute negative behavior to most others' actions rather than positive behavior, right? And thus we are in the mess that we're in today, right? And so today I want to visit with you for just a few minutes about how to attribute positive motives, right, to our children's behavior. So if you watch young children convey their wants and needs, right, it starts with their actions, right? So they're going to hit, they're going to grab, they're going to do whatever to get what they want because they see something and they want it, and so I'm going to grab it from you, right? I don't care that you're using it, right? I just know that I want it. And because I'm young, because I'm ego-centered, right, that's just what I'm going to do. It's that reptilian brain that we have in us, right? We're just going to grab, we're going to hit because you have it and I want it, right? And so what our job is as the adults in their life is to communicate with them how to use their words, right? So, and as we do this, we attribute positive intent to that, right? So, for example, if I'm playing at a Play-Doh center with the children and somebody just reaches across to grab something, I say to them, oh, it looks like Rose is using that right now. If you want to use it, then you can say to Rose, hey, Rose, can I use that? But it looks like you want to use that, right? That's not attributing positive intent to what they're doing, right? You're not saying, what the heck are you doing, right? But you're trying to see them through their eyes, like, I want that, right? So this is how you get that. And so as we state the first step, right, is to state the child's intent, right? So you wanted that rolling pin that Rose had, right? So as we state it, then we build security and cooperation, right? Then we move to step 2. And step 2 is we state for the child the skill, right, that he used to achieve his goal without making judgments. This is the hard part, right? All we do is just describe the actions, right? So you went and you grabbed it from her, right? So this builds awareness, right? And we're not saying you shouldn't have grabbed it. We're just stating what we saw, right? If you go back to one of the other videos, we talked about how using a camera helps us just to notice rather than to judge, right? So all we're doing is just describing the action, right? So you wanted the rolling pin that Rose had, right? Step 1. Step 2 is, so you reached across the table and you grabbed it from her, right? So we're building awareness. We've built security and cooperation. So then we move on to step 3, right? So we state the limit and why it's needed, right? So this gives those boundaries that kids want of what isn't acceptable. As I train the teachers, one of the things we talk about is telling the children what they can do rather than what they can't do. We really are very good at telling children what they can't do, right? Which isn't helping them to understand the nuances and the cultural, I can't think of the word, the things that we just do, right? And so we have to help them figure that out. So telling them what they can do. So this isn't acceptable. This hurts people when we do this, but you are welcome to do this and this, right? So then we're building boundaries and we're then focusing them on what they can or should be doing, right? So step 3 is you may not, right? You may not grab that from Rose because that hurts. So you're setting that boundary, right? Why it's needed. And then step 4, you're teaching the child what they should do or what they should say in that situation, right? And then we ask them to do the action or to say the words, and they can immediately, right, put that into practice. And this builds that muscle memory that we've talked about before. Kids need lots of practice, right? We had lots of practice as kids, right? And now we're parents or we're teachers. And so we have had that practice, but now we've got to give them the opportunity to practice and build that muscle memory. So let's say it now for practice. Rose, I want to use that rolling pin when you're finished. When you're finished, can I use it? Right? And we say that, and then they go back and they do it with Rose. We use this on the playground all the time. We use this in center time all the time. The other day, the little boy that I think I talked about, wanting a drink of water, I used it with him, and it was just like, all of a sudden, it was like, oh. So all those people waiting in line, right? I can't just push forward because I'm thirsty, but I used the positive intent with him and said, dude, all those people are in line. So you can't push in front of them because that hurts them and they're waiting. So if you want to drink, I know that you said you were thirsty. If you want to drink, you need to get in line, right? And remember those stars on the floor show us how to make a line, right? So we've tried to set up the environment so they can see it. We talk about it so they can hear it, and we practiced it. So he said, so what I need to say is, I want a drink. And I said, yeah. And what you need to do is you need to get in line because all those people want to drink. They're all thirsty too. It was amazing to watch him just walk back over pretty calmly, get in line, get a drink, right? So step 5, we praise and encourage the child for being willing to try a different approach. As he got a drink, I said, way to go, buddy. You did it. Everybody got a drink. Nobody got hurt, right? So point out how the new approach was successful. Right? So let me just visit with you for just a minute on page 158 and 159. I think sometimes we need muscle memory as well, right, at this point. So a child walks over and pushes his sister away from a favorite toy. So step 1, right, you wanted to let your sister know that you didn't want her to play with your toy, so you pushed her away. Boom. That was step 1 and step 2, right? You wanted to let your sister know, step 1, that you didn't want her to play with your toy, so the action was you pushed her away. That was step 2. Then step 3 is you state the limit. You may not push because pushing hurts, right? Step 4, we're teaching. When you want to tell your sister that is your toy, you say, that is mine. Get your own toy and point to one she can play with. Let's practice so you can remember, right? And then step 5 is to encourage. You told your sister clearly what you wanted and she looked up and she listened to you. Showing her what to play with was very helpful. So it sounds pretty good on paper, doesn't it? But when we're in our brainstem and we forget that it's a teaching moment and not a punishing moment, right? We've got to teach them rather than punish them, right? But we don't want to also be permissive with them. We have to set the boundaries. They're looking for boundaries, right? Here's situation 2. Your child angrily pushes food away from himself. So we described the child's intent and action. You wanted to let me know you'd eaten enough, so you pushed your food away, right? There's no judgment in that. You're just describing the action. State 3, you state the limit. You may not push your food across the table. It can spill when that happens. And then step 4, the teaching moment. When you're done eating, say, I'm done. May I be excused, please? Let's practice it now. And then step 5, the encouragement. Yes, you may. Give him a hug and send him on his way, right? So we really do need to practice, practice, practice. Not just for the children's sake, but for our sake, so that we can get those 5 steps in our brain, so that as we see it, then we're like, okay, positive intent, right? And it's the same thing for adults. It's harder for me to assume positive intent with adults, but that's what I'm working on, right? So we're describing the child's intent and action. We are stating the limit. Sorry, that's 3. Number 4, we're teaching, and number 5, we're encouraging. So it will work with work. It will work with children. It will work with adults, right? And we just need to practice, practice, practice. So good luck stating and attributing positive intent to our children's actions this week. And share if you've got somebody that's been struggling with this. Watch it again if you need to remember. That's one of the things that I love about this video is it's able to just come in when I need it, right? Sometimes I go back and I'm like, okay, what am I struggling with right now? This is something I'm struggling with. So I watch the 10-minute video and we're on again, right? Sometimes we have to rewind and we move forward, whether it's in our teaching or whether it's in our parenting. Good luck to everybody. Thanks for joining us.